Hello, welcome. I thought that I would Chatty Kathy it up while I did some dishes because why not? So I have thought I would do an update. I haven't posted an actual video other than like little puzzle videos and silliness in a while, and we had been planning on heading traveling and camping for the last summer, and unfortunately Bobby ruptured his distal tendon, so we had to cancel all of our plans, and he had 3 months of after surgery, and then he had to heal and get better. So the distal tendon is actually your bicep, so he blew his bicep right out of his elbow, moving a tree. So he was shuffling a tree for me out of the driveway that my stepfather had knocked into the driveway when he was cutting branches. And days before we were supposed to head out, he ended up injured. And so we had to put everything on hold, and I ended up not doing anything all summer, no videos, no anything, because, well, a few shorts and stuff just to be goofy. Oh my gosh, my dog likes to rip up boxes, and so that's what she's doing behind me. So that's what I'm going to be cleaning up after I'm finished with dishes. So anyways, we had both, Bobby had gotten a second or another job, and we were moving, and so I had quit my job and he had quit his job, and I started posting a bunch of little silly shorts and trying to build up my viewers. And then right when we were about to leave, he got hurt, and we ended up I got a job gardening all summer for elderly people, and, well, not everyone was elderly, but most of the people were, and we ended up lingering around, and currently, there was snow this morning. I'm a Michigan person, and there was already some snow this morning, so this month, of course, gardening season is very much over in the world of gardening in Michigan, so I slowed right down. I do odd jobs too. So I have an older lady that I still go over to her house and do some. We're getting her yard all ready, just because Bobby and I and the kids still want to move north instead of linger around here. And since my parents were selling their house, so we need to be moving out of here. We're just kind of holding them up, and I'm feeling very guilty over this. It's not something that I want, so you're on my shelf that holds all my dirty dish, or all my clean dishes. I just gotta deal with it. So, because all of our plans changed, when Bobby couldn't take the job that he was supposed to, and since he couldn't take that job, we had to just kind of change up every idea of what we had. We were worried. He was sort of concerned that he might not get his arm back because it's his right bicep that was damaged. And he researched, and there's people who never have problems afterwards, but you have to be very cautious, because pretty much what happens is you have surgery, and in the surgery I have a glass. mess up here. Okay, anyways, when your bicep, his bicep ripped off, and when the bicep ripped off, it pretty much just came off like right here. It attaches into this bone through a canal in your elbow, and so that broke. Luckily, it didn't break any bones. It shot way up here and had reattached by the time he had his appointment 2 weeks later. So after the 2 weeks, when he went to go have surgery, they had to cut here, retrieve muscle, pull muscle down, make a fake tendon, run a tendon through. They drilled a hole into his radius, I think. And then ulna. I had to make sure I had the one right. Okay, so he had to run. They drilled a hole in that bone, and they kind of run the fake tendon through that hole, and then they put kind of a nut in there that locks it and can torque the muscle to what they believed was equal to his left arm, and then he wasn't allowed to move it. He was supposed to stay pretty non-motion for a few months, and then he was allowed to drop his elbow and do hand exercises. Well, he had a partial cast on, and the partial cast ended up getting like compartmental syndrome, or the beginnings of it, because he was like freaking out because his hand was like swelling and turning purple. So because that was happening, he started to freak out, and instead of going to the doctor, he cut his cast off, which didn't surprise me. I was surprised he kept it on as long as he did. And he chopped it off, and you could see a huge indentation in his arm where the actual cast was laid, because it was like not the cast on the top portion, and it was only around his elbow, which kind of was better that he left it on for part of the time, because he didn't want to bump his elbow on anything because he just had surgery. So anyways, he bumped it, or he removed it. His hand was all bright purple. He has nerve damage now, and he's getting his hand feeling back, but it took extra time because of the nerve issue, that he was having trouble feeling the top portion of his arm. And some people never get their feeling back, and he did. He is slowly, I guess, is the better word for it. And now he got back to release to go to work again. But like I said, we had to quit our jobs so that he could take another job up north. So he got a job at Amazon driving truck, because then we can transfer it anywhere. That's a smart idea for us. So our plan is still to be moving, and that's why like everything is like, if you can see behind me, I tried to make it so you couldn't, but it's all boxes. We have shelves of boxes and things stored in the boxes. So I haven't done my dishes. Willow's been on like a cooking binge lately. She's 16 now, and she pretty much like makes one whole meal that isn't the dinner I cook or whatever, and so she dirties a bunch of dishes. So I've been procrastinating doing the dishes. They're not as bad as I've let them get in my life past, but I have quite a few pans. Mostly it's all pans. I've been very irresponsibly buying paper plates and plastic cups, so that I didn't have to wash them. It's called complete irresponsibility. Can't help myself. Some days I just don't want to have extra dishes. And because I have 3 teenagers in the house who are terrible dish doers, and I've always been Sorry, I have GERD's acid reflux, and it makes a lot of mucus in my throat, so my throat becomes extremely mucusy, and I end up coughing a lot. There's nothing I can do about it. Just part of my life. So anyways, I just did not, and have been trying to avoid the dishes because I'm lazy. Oh, I know what I was saying. So I have always been the dish doer in our house. We don't have a dishwasher. The dishwasher is me. And I don't make the kids do dishes because it like takes them 3 years and it's very annoying. And I'd prefer not to do them. Things never end up where I want them. So I just do the dishes myself. I'm the cook and the dish drawer. To be honest, when I was young, because I hated dishes. Oh, hello, Luna. I hate dishes so much that when I was young, I learned how to be a good cook, so that thinking like it would be the way that my family was, and if you do the cooking, you don't do the dishes. Oh, my puppy needs outside. Hold on. Oh, do you need outside? Do you need outside? Okay. Hold on. Let me dry my hand up so I can get you out. I don't want to open the door. It's just too cold. I don't want to open the door. It's just too cold. I know everybody can see the mess. Okay, there we go. You going? You can't go. So, he can't come. You can go. Yeah, you saw my mess. The door opening revealed my chaos. Oh well, I could have cut it. I could have paused. I just don't believe in not being open and just honest about my inability to keep a clean house. It's just part of the life that I've lived. So anyways, I learned to be a good cook so that I didn't have to be the dish doer, thinking like I was going to be able to be like, oh, you know, I do the cooking, so maybe you could do the dishes afterwards. No, it just didn't happen. My husband is mainly the worker, and he does a lot of the other jobs in our family, and it just happens that I do the kitchen stuff, like cooking, cleaning. So, some people just have different jobs. It just so happens that I don't want to shovel snow or dig holes or go to work. I'll just do the dishes here in my house, where I can pause when I want to pause. I can go lay on the couch if I want to. I can even not do it at all. So, sometimes, though, being the dish doer and the stay-at-home mom can be a really poopy job, because who wants to be the dish doer? But, hey, I'm not, like, required to show up at somebody else's place and work for them. And I just don't want to do that. Just not my deal. Trust me, I've done it plenty. I waitressed for many years, and I've worked as managers, and I've worked retail, and I've worked office work, and I hated it all. I would rather just raise children. So that's what I do most of my life. And if you... What are you doing? You're making a lot of noise over here. The box the cat had, or the dog was ripping up, now the cat is using as a play toy. I mean, you're really, it's like, talk to my mouth. It's just Chatty Kathy. We're not going to show my actual face. It's just going to be my mouth the whole time. Here we go. Sorry. That's what I kept seeing in the thing. If I glanced at the camera, every time I lean forward, I put the camera really close. But if I would have put it farther back, then it would be where I put my clean dishes. So, because I have like that rack over top of my sink. So you're just hanging around the cup holder, being responsible and keeping an eye for me. So, watch in the back. Watch in the back. We're almost done. I mostly have pans, like I said. So, all the small stuff is pretty much accomplished. Just gotta put away all the silverware. Not put away. Silverware. Had a cat visit. I knew that would happen at least once. I knew it. Oh, now look, I can see myself even better. Maybe I should have knocked at that earlier. Because now, like, I'm in the camera. Oh, it's cold. I was thinking I was missing some of the pan or some of my silverware. Well, I just didn't dirty it yet. Only reason I'm actually doing dishes is because I used my Instant Pot yesterday to make pork for tacos, and I want to do a beef roast today. So I needed my Instant Pot again. So honestly, you wouldn't have been here helping me do dishes if it wasn't for Wending. Just that Instant Pot that's over sitting at the bottom of my pile. Let's see. These are things I was going to tell you. So I thought I would tell you guys, let's see. I've already posted long videos. All my videos were extremely long though. And so all my real length videos were just a bit too long, I think, for actual viewage. Because I can't talk for less than an hour at least, I suppose. And my goal is, I just did it when I was doing dishes. But if I'm not going to talk about anything responsible, then you won't even know what I'm talking about. And there won't be worth talking to. Alright, so our plans, I guess I could go back into those, are still to move north. We had some family issues happen on top of Bobby, so his stepfather had a quick onset of dementia, which is extremely sad because my in-laws are not even in their 70s yet, and they weren't even retired. He was just about to be retiring. Like, they're in their, like, early 60s or thing. Gotta think about it. Yeah, in their 60s. Early 60s. And so, they've had, because he had, like, rapid onset dementia, he is not having their whole life changed. And so my husband's lingering closer to family because he's sad for his mother and just his mother needs anything. And then his father had colon cancer, which is the same cancer his sister had passed away from about 10 years ago. So we are staying closer to the area we lived in before, or we've been living most of our life, but we are not, we're still going to head up in our state, like north in our state, but we're going to just not go all the way to Marquette or to the UP anymore, because it turns the drive south into a very long drive for people. And if there was a family emergency at the time that we were gone, we would feel bad, because it would be almost too far to drive to make it anywhere for anyone in an emergency situation. So, our state has a very, being in Michigan, we have like the southern part of the state and the northern part of the state and the northern part of the state. Once you cross the bridge to the UP, you have to, it goes like over, like it's, Michigan is the same distance sideways in the UP that it is up and down in the southern lower peninsula. So we live about an hour from we live near Lansing area, and we're just going to go about 2 hours, 2.5 hours to Travers, instead of, it's like 3 to 3.5, it's about 3.5 hours to get to the border, or to the bridge, and then to get to Marquette, it's another 4 hours or something like that. So we don't want that. I'm not exactly sure, to be quite honest. I've never been the driver of that portion of the drive to the UP. I know my way around Michigan, like the lower peninsula, but so our whole like general plans are just not what they were, and we're gonna buy property, and hopefully, where's my cow? We want to just homestead. Oh, it's over there. I was using the scour pad and I wanted a soft squishy towel. So since we planned on homesteading from the beginning, we've always been planned. I have a house drawn that I drew years ago. That I've slowly made improvements on and changes to my ideas as like the world has increased and bettered. But I pretty much know exactly what I want out of a house, because I'm not looking for a huge house. And I'm too big of a family to have a tiny house. So I'm looking like a moderately, because I really just want to live in a tiny house. My husband and I think that we could easily just live in a camper and travel. But we have, a 13, 15, and 16-year-old. And that's just not practical in life to... I mean, we were going to do it because our camper has a bunkhouse, so we can sleep. The kids, we had a space for the kids to each have their own space, so it was just going to be some lightweight camping. But Bobby and I think we could live in a RV or in a camper and just travel. So maybe someday that will be what him and I do. But for now, we're looking for homestead property. And we're gonna build a tiny house, like a not tiny house. Like the downstairs, the one portion is only a 10 by 20, and then, which would be the first portion I would build, because in certain areas of my certain counties, which is the only counties that we're really looking at, you can build that size piece of building without a permit, and it's the living room space, so it just needs to be one big open room, and then it would give us like a beginning building to then start an actual house. And then I would just, of course, that would all have its, would be overdone, not like just a shed built. It would be because an actual like slope roof 10 by 20 structure just to deal with the initial storing everything and the wood and all that. And we would probably lay a concrete slab and then lay the 10 by 20 over on top of it. And then after that, we would just include that generalized structure into the permit and the house structure as we were starting to work. And then we would just build off of that structure. Is my plan. My husband probably thinks different, but I have this whole like plan, and we have the same plans, but he just, I have it all written down in a book. Like I even know where I want my animal houses in conjunction, and my greenhouse is laid out according to my house layout. So I'm completely not controlling this. Here is snack debris and cereal over the counter. So I'm going to wipe that. I'm going to give us a little flick so you can kind of see. I'm stepping back. Dry milk. I think once we start building or get to property, which so we planned on doing this like multiple years ago, but with the housing market going like psychotic in our state, it's just obscene. I watched houses change from being, I'm on my last two hard items. I watched property go from being like 10 acres for $10,000. Of course, this is like in no man's land, with lots of woods. Sometimes it's not even on like a paved road or a maintained road, which I don't know how many other places, but we live in a state that had a lot of logging, so there's a lot of old tube tracks and secondary roads that do not get maintained or cared for, and because of that, they sell properties on those things. But it's possible that you, especially up in north in snowman land, you can get trapped in your property if the roads are too snowy and if the roads are unpassable. So you can't always buy every piece of property. You could maybe see a really great piece of property on a website and not realize that it is a property that can't get to by on like a main road or in a main stretch of and that you have to like go off-roading to pretty much get to that piece of property. So you have to be super cautious when making a purchase of a piece of property like that. But we have looked, and our life plan was originally we were going to buy property that was in nowhere. And then we were going to make it livable and have a driveway that we just had to plow our own way out or whatever. And it's just not happening currently because houses, those exact same piece of property are now like 47,000, 50,000. I'm like, 50,000? A few years ago, those were like on the market for $15,000, $20,000. So it's, to be honest, $10,000, $15,000. Sorry, I was talking about 10 acres. But it's insane the way the market's changed, and so we put ourselves like on the back burner, and because we don't want to pay an arm and a leg for a piece of property, and we really want, it has to be in the perfect area because we want to be able to homestead it, and it has to be able to be off grid, and we have to be able to get through zoning laws that require there's some areas in our state that have such strict rules that there was a pan on the ground, so now I'm gonna set it with the pan I couldn't get clean. There we go. I'm just gonna let those two sit for a second so that I can finish. So we're still planning on, we're gonna buy property, we're still gonna homestead. It was always our plan, it's still always been our plan. I want to raise animals, I want to have sheep. I want my children to be able to build tiny houses on the property we buy, and then they could then have home and home security, because the world is crazy and it's very hard to financially purchase a home now. So our plan has always been to buy land. I have a 24 and a 26-year-old son, so I'd like them to be able to build something on that, even if they weren't living there permanently, or that they could come visit and come spend time with me, or if they wanted to permanently live there, then they could permanently live there, or they could feel like it was their home and their own place, and that they could just do what they needed to do to keep living their life, but without having like such a burden of mortgages and all of that jazz. So that's our goal, and we're just slow going. I don't want it to procrastinate any longer. The little kids are getting way big. I mean, like I said, 13, 15, Winter will be 15 next week, and then Willow turned 16 last week. So we just pretty much are collecting ourselves, and hopefully by spring we'll have purchased property, which was our plan for the last 5 years, but we actually have every intention of being on property this year, even if we start in our camper and we build as we go. So that's the goal. Thanks for hanging out with me while I did some dishes. I appreciate you chatting and watching me talk like this the whole time. So it was really fun. Talk to you next time.